want to go a little bit deeper into this issue of reputational risk, because this is something that the left was pushing and using this as a tool to debank conservative organizations. It happened to us. All right. We were able to push back, but it happened to us, happened to other conservative organizations. So I'm going to bring in Chris Gacek, Senior Fellow for Regulatory Affairs here at the Family Research Council to help us unpack this a little bit further. In the meantime, as Chris is coming in, I still want to encourage you to give us a call, 800-225-4008, if you'd like to partner with the Family Research Council. Our team's standing by to take your call. Chris, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, Tony.
All right, so we were just talking with Congressman Marlin Stutzman about this. This is a good move, as we said, but maybe the Fed trying to avoid more of the Trump administration engaging and forcing them to correct some of their political positions that they've had in the past.
I think this is a really good point that you made, and I think his answer was very good as well. I mean, what seems to be happening right now is at the state level and at the federal level, the banks and the federal agencies are trying to pull back and trying to sort of, make us forget about the bad stuff that they did. And the Wall Street Journal had a big article yesterday about this, talking about these major banks going to, especially to Texas and Oklahoma, try and get those state regulators to, be more lenient on them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So these regulators, these are the people that show up at the local bank, and they would say, I want to look at your books, and I want to see what you're doing and how you're doing business. And so they have a lot of influence with these banks, and if they're putting this category of reputational risk, meaning you're doing business with a conservative organization that could cause reputational risk to your entity, which could cause you to go under, then that's the door that they're using, correct?
Well, exactly. And these are the bank examiners in particular, right, as part of the regulators. And it's funny, when you start to read something like this, and the government and life is so complicated, there are all of these, different, pressure points in all forms in all areas of life. And so the one of these areas is the bank examiners, and the bank examiners have a lot of power apparently, because we have someone on staff here whose family was in small banking in rural Texas, and essentially over time they were put out of business by the cost of the regulators and the examiners that they had to pay for as being part of a rural bank. So I think the Congress could do, and other people who were involved in this, is try to find out what exactly were the Fed regulators and in other words, what were they asking about all of these different categories about guns and churches.
Well, but it even goes to the United Nations. The United Nations leaning in on this on environmental issues, and the Fed kind of adopting that UN platform to go to a local bank. And you talked about Texas and Oklahoma, and that's even unfolding even now as we speak, as they're revisiting this, where if you're involved in fossil fuels, then you're a risk, and so the bank is just kind of discouraged to loan capital to those types of businesses.
Well, right, and in the Wall Street Journal piece, they talked about two of the major banks, and that they had pulled out of this, essentially this umbrella group for the environmental, sort of ESG, right? There's this kind of moniker for good behavior in terms of the environment, and the United Nations Environmental Program, FI. So there's a subgroup about it regarding finance. I'd never heard of this, and it was so well defined that they were trying to dictate how banks could interact with their customers. So the tentacles of all of these globalist and environmental, and all of these institutions are almost hard to imagine. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing in the pullback here. And I think an executive order by the Trump administration might really be a good thing.
But all of this, trying to expose all this and clean it up while we have the opportunity, is critical going forward. Chris Gacek, thanks so much for jumping in and sharing some more insights on this.
You're welcome.